Welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me, Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you again.
Bob, great seeing you.
A senior intelligence official for the U.S. said that several months ago, the intelligence community gave a strategic warning that ISIS could present a threat to Mosul and to Iraq. Yet seemingly that was not heeded. What happened there?
Well, I think part of this problem has to do with the festering cauldron of conflict that we've been watching in Syria and Western Iraq for some time. I think what you have is strategic warning gets sort of drowned out by the everyday threats and conflicts that you're seeing in those environments. And so it may be that people didn't quite take as seriously as they should have the impending threat of Mosul. To Mosul from this group. But the reality was this group has been gaining strength. It's had a foothold in Syria. It's been gaining resources, material, and manpower. It has been gaining foothold in Iraq. Keep in mind, they've held Fallujah now for several months. That's not a surprise. And so the reality is this is a group that's been gaining in strength. Everyone knew that. I think what was surprising was the rapidity with which they took Mosul and their ability to take territory so quickly, and the disillusion of the Iraqi military in the face of that onslaught.
Let me ask you this. How good is our intelligence there right now? Because this official also said after we drew forces back from Iraq a few years ago, we lost significant intelligence capability. So how good are our eyes there?
Not very good. The reality is we lost major intelligence and military footprint in 2011 when we withdrew our forces. That's the reality. It doesn't mean we're blind, and it doesn't mean that we've lost all the relationships in country, militarily, politically, intelligence, or otherwise. But with the drawdown, I think we have to recognize that there were real consequences to that drawdown. Not having the physical imprint of the U.S. troops and intelligence infrastructure there has in some ways blinded us, and now we're playing catch up. Now we're playing absolute catch up. It also, weakened our ability to influence what happened on the ground, whether it was between political forces, within the military itself, the ability to bolster the military as we saw the rise of ISIS. And so part of the question that you posed of why didn't we take this more seriously is in part we didn't have the guys and gals on the ground who were collecting that kind of intel to give us greater granularity as to what was happening.
So we have a dangerous mix brewing here. We have somewhat weaker intel than we used to have. At the same time, you have a strengthening opponent carving out a potential safe haven here across Iraq and Syria. Going forward, that sounds to me like a building threat.
It's an existential terrorist threat. I mean, this is in some ways the worst case scenario where you have in the heart of the Middle East a terrorist group and movement that has the resources, capabilities, and intent to not only create a swath of territory that they control, but then having regional and global ambitions. Keep in mind that ISIS is the successor group to Al-Qaeda in Iraq. This is a group that tried to attack in Jordan, that always had in mind serving as a platform for greater attacks against the regional actors and the West. And so what you're seeing here is the worst of all scenarios, a group that has momentum, money, manpower, materiel, establishing itself in the Middle East and frankly threatening one of the Arab world's most important capitals, Baghdad.
As we wrap this up, what's your assessment of what kind of threat going forward does ISIS present here to the U.S. homeland?
It presents two threats. One, the threat of the ability to send men out to attack Western sites, to put people on planes, to try to attack in New York, et cetera, to try to deploy globally. The reality of the terrorist groups that we deal with now, whether they're Al-Qaeda officially or offshoots like ISIS, is that they're both local and global. They have the ability to operate locally, raise funds locally, recruit and fight locally, but they also have the global jihadi DNA embedded in their agendas. And so they can, in some ways, begin to walk and chew gum at the same time. They can threaten Baghdad, but they can start to launch plots and attacks and operatives at New York, Detroit, or San Francisco.
So this is a real threat going forward.
It's a real threat. The second point I would make is ideologically it's a threat because you have a new movement that in some ways parallels Al-Qaeda. And you haven't gotten rid of Al-Qaeda because it has its regional groups and it still has Al-Qaeda core, but you now have a new movement that's gained strength and popularity around the world.
Very troubling. Juan, thank you as always.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We will see you next time.